Xylophoney here with Mario to go over the new ban list that's just been dropped. Mario was shouting this thing to me last night, and it is surprising. It is going to change the game significantly. Dare I say more than the last ban list did. So, you want to talk about it, Mario?
Oh yeah, this is an interesting one, that's for
Yeah,
sure.
some things I'm happy about, some things I'm unhappy about, and some things I'm just like, maybe. So, I guess let's start off with Nightmare Goblin is now banned. We've seen tons and tons and tons of Nightmare plays, and Nightmare Goblin has been literally at the center of it. So, I think I understand why this one's not allowed
Okay.
anymore, so I'll kind of take it away. It's when you set up that Nightmare field that makes the whole U and your opponent can't use their own link zones, Troymare Goblin or Nightmare Goblin is right in the middle of it. So if they don't have this, it's going to be a lot more complicated to get that U field. Might even be impossible in most decks. So they probably do want to preventing people from playing, as we've seen them hit FTK decks and stuff like that before multiple times.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so it's not going to really kill any decks, but it is going to like slow
Hurt 'em.
down. Yeah, slow down anything that really banks on Nightmare, and anyone who runs Nightmare just for the lockdown, not going to be a thing anymore, I don't think.
Unless
Next
they
up, we
find
have
a
the
substitute card.
yeah, and there are some like Proxy Dragon maybe, but that doesn't give you an additional normal summon to continue the play. That just you can still do it. I think it's just not convenient to do it anymore.
No, and especially since it breaks the whole draw extra cards due to these nightmares effects.
Exactly. So, next up we have MX Sabre Invoker is now banned. And anyone who recently saw our tournament we had with the community, you can see why. He's incredibly good. He can facilitate plays. He can get things moving.
Oh yeah.
So,
Not only that, he's also being heavily used in Gokis, which is
yeah,
heavily
Gokis are,
being abused in OCG.
yep, Gokis are way up there, and this guy is definitely going to limit them a little bit more. So, seeing Nightmares and Gokis being limited significantly. And the final banned card from this list is Samsara Lotus, which I am not 100% sure. I mean,
I believe I did do a little research, but I'm not 100%. I think it was involved in a like Trickstar, not like the burn version, but like a Trickstar, like a Trickstar FTK. And I don't know if that was enough to warrant a ban of the card.
yeah, it's just during their standby phases. It's 1,000. That's still like 8 turns, but I guess the special summon helps a little bit. I guess with a lot of decks like choosing to not run with spells or traps, this was being abused. I mean, I never seen the card in my life, so, but perhaps it was a problem. Either way, it is now banned. Moving on to cards that are in the extra deck, Heavy Metal Foes Electrum has been limited to 1. So, like every single Pendulum deck you've seen, literally every single Pendulum deck in existence right now,
That runs at
spans-
3 of these.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, even just running Dino Mists, I run multiple of these all the time. So, this is going to be huge to soften Pendulums even further. So,
Or make them non-usable, because that seems to
Yeah,
be Konami's.
certain Pendulum
Goal
decks
right
are
now.
gonna be unusable at this point. So, I don't think it'll make the Dino Mists unusable, but it's not like they were, like, meta anytime recently, so. Well, let us
Yeah.
know what you think about the slaying of pendulums. We've seen it in the past few ban lists additions, so this is one of the biggest hits yet. Then we have Psy Framelord Omega being reduced to 1 card allowed, which it's a good card. I didn't often see it being spammed. I usually only see 1 or 2 of them max, but yeah, I guess if someone does spam it, this will stop them from doing that. Have you ever seen this spammed in a deck?
Not much, no.
Well, I imagine I can see how it would be incredibly annoying if it is spammed. So, once again, another thing that just won't let your opponent play the game. So, sure, that's good. And another card that has been taken off the ban list and added to the, limited, we have Evil Swarm Exitron Knight. So, this one I just read it, and it's very interesting. It says once per chain during your opponent's main phase or opponent's battle phase, if your opponent has more total cards in their hand, pretty easy to facilitate, more cards on hand and field, you can detach 1 material on this card, destroy all cards on the field. Also,
Except for him.
yeah, also your opponent takes No further damage this turn. It doesn't say exact. Yeah, all other cards. Yeah, so he does live. Now, obviously, he's not a powerful monster. Keeping him alive isn't very important. But if you just have a couple of level 4s and your opponent's filling up their field, this wipes them.
Yeah, which was easy for a lot of people to bring out. This guy was banned since I think it was like near the end of the XYZ era.
Because like level 4 XYZs, there was always the core of level 4 XYZs, and I assume this guy was in it at one point.
Oh, he was in almost every deck.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, no, this guy, he's really good.
Yeah, he seems very situational, but well, not even very situational.
No,
It's
he's
like
not situational. Like you can chain a card on your opponent's turn to facilitate his effect.
Yeah, because it's not even like you have to have like a ton less cards than your opponent. No, you just have to have less. So. And that's with a lot of decks very easy to do, especially if your opponent's running something that holds cards or plays a lot of cards, which
Funny
a lot
enough,
of decks
nightmares.
do these days. Yeah, this would completely wreck. Well, yeah, I guess it would wreck a Nightmare Field because none of them will negate the effect. They just protect themselves, which I don't know. Does this get over that? How much stuff does this guy get over? Is the question.
He got over like a lot of lockdown fields, a lot of back row fields that were just making sure your opponent couldn't try to do anything. And if I remember correctly, he was in his own dedicated deck of Evil Swarms. He was like one of the best cards to couple up with it.
Yeah, I can imagine, because then you just set up 2 level 4s, clear the field, and then you have a handful of cards maybe, or, well, I guess you wouldn't in this case. I don't know. I think it's reasonable that it's set to 1 being allowed right now, especially with how gameplay is going. Because if you do get yourself set up for this, then maybe your opponent was winning regardless. But I'm excited to see it. I think I'll hate it less than Baguska. But it's still probably going to be mad annoying. So,
I still swear you're still slightly annoyed that Baguska was not banned.
It shouldn't be. It's just a stall card. That's why I don't like it. It's not because it's crazy good. It's just because it's a stall card is why I don't like it. But anyway, moving on to other cards that are limited. We have a Assault Core. All you who were a big fan of that, that's going to change things, isn't it, Mario?
Oh yeah, I don't think ABCs can be their own deck with one of their key components only being at 1. And then I think you can only toss it into other decks now.
Yeah, because the problem with that was your opponent brings out the ABC dragon or whatever, and then does all that stuff, and then can just keep facilitating it, can keep just like recycling the Assault Core and the other 2 cards back out and stuff like that. But now if there's only 1 Assault Core, you can't continue the recycle game. So
no,
it's not as overpowered, which maybe will balance the deck, but surely will take it out of like the meta conversation, I suppose.
Like you said, we won't see the end of ABC Dragon. Like you can still probably see it in other machine decks, maybe.
Yeah, like it's still gonna work. It's just not gonna be a survivable long-term recovery style deck at all.
No, and not only that, once you take out one of the pieces for good, there's no way of bringing it out again.
Yeah, like, we'll just skip to it now. Like, Called by the Grave. You see that in the graveyard, you throw the Assault Core out of here, and boom. That's pretty much game
GG for the opponent.
That being said, Assault Core, or rather, Called by the Grave was semi-limited to 2. It's a great card, so I can see why they would bring it down to 2. Wouldn't even be surprised if they eventually brought it down to 1. But
yeah, but I think it's also a reason that they wanted to limit it because it's a way of stopping hand traps. Let's be honest.
True, and they like their hand traps lately, so. But yeah, Called
so
by the Grave was a great card. Definitely something I ran 3 of in a few decks, so. It's just a counter hand traps, so.
Some of these cards in here are making me have to rework my Sky Striker deck.
Yeah, like a lot of my decks are gonna have to be significantly reworked. Let's move on to the Sky Striker card there. Mecha has been reduced to 1. The Hornet Drones. So, I don't think this will kill your Sky Striker deck by any means.
It won't kill it since I've never truly relied on Hornet Drones, but that does make me have to think about replacements for spell cards in a deck.
What this will kill is my Sky Striker decks. Hornet Drones is essentially the card you spam if you're running a mixed Sky Striker deck. With how good Sky Strikers is, makes sense to, mix Sky Strikers in. It's just free draw power, free, stall, defensive, whatever you need at the time. And it's great. But if you have to run Rays instead of the Hornet Drones to make it work, it's a little bit harder to mix it into any deck. Using Ray works fine with a regular Sky Striker deck, but I definitely use triple Hornet Drones in like all of my Sky Striker mix decks. So.
I will admit that having Hornet Drones is a good backup, as because it is searchable if you cannot bring out a monster.
It's fantastic.
Is a good thing, but it does not kill the deck, as I never truly relied on Hornet Drones for the plays.
Yeah, I haven't ever looked into, I know Trickstar, Sky Striker were like really top game for a while. I guess this is a move to go up against them, because I assume you do triple Hornet Drones in a, one of those types of decks rather than going all out with Ray. So I assume that'll slow that down a little bit, but it'll, for the most part, leave Sky Striker powerful as their own deck style. So I don't think that, I don't know, it's interesting. I don't like it because it's going to kill my Sky Striker Exodia deck, but that deck needed to be killed, let's be honest.
By the way, Xylo. I looked it up and I found out why they banned Samsara Lotus.
Oh, sure. Why is that?
So, Topic Logic Dragon. What it does is, it destroys all monsters on the field, correct?
Of course.
So...
This doesn't have a... You can just continuously do it, can't you?
Yes, so
it's not a once a turn.
Bring out Topic Logic, bring out the Troymare Cerberus to make sure co-linked cards are not unable to be destroyed. Have the Trickstar that when a monster is special summoned, deal 200 to your opponent. Keep that loop going forever.
Kill. Okay.
And 200 each time.
That would certainly do it.
Oh yeah, I just looked it up. That's the reason Samsara Lotus is banned.
If this card lets you do it once a turn, it would be fine right now. But yeah, I absolutely see why that's an issue.
Yeah, it's just during the end phase it keeps going off.
Yeah, that was obviously an oversight by Konami, so they're putting it on the ban list to remedy that. Anyway, before we get off the topic of my Exodia deck tendencies, let's talk about the card destruction, shall we?
Oh yeah, this card was really good for Exodia decks back then for obvious reasons.
Yeah, early game you get a card destruction, burn half the cards in your hand or all the cards in your hand, then just play this. Or,
it does all your cards.
It does all your cards. Your hand. Either way, that can field Exodia pieces to the graveyard, which you can then pull back later, so that's pretty great. But also next to that, there's Morphine Jar, which I was thinking of when I was saying that, and that pretty much lets you draw 5 fresh cards. And, normal summons aren't too hard to come by with an Exodia deck. Now, you can't really force the flip too easily, but still, that is very good. The massive discarding power. It's really weird to see these cards come back. Obviously, I'm just talking about Exodia, but that's not the main thought process most people are going through here. Think about it. Think about dangers with these cards. Think about how dangerous that can be. You get 4 danger effects off. Imagine if you're running Danger Dark Worlds. Boom. Discard the entire hand. All of the effects. Madness. Like, these cards, well, at least card destruction is automatically going into my Danger Dark World deck.
Morphine Jar is going to be...
probably.
But
they're both really good.
I will say, I think Morphine Jar will be in all the flip-oriented decks. It's like, Shaddolls is definitely going to use this.
Yeah, I definitely see. I think Morphing Jar is definitely reasonable to have it one. You got to be a little tricky to use it wisely. But card destruction, oh boy, that's going to be abused, and I can't wait to see how it's abused. Both of them are going to be abused, to be honest. That's interesting. So, I can't wait to do that. Anyway, we also got Elemental Hero Stratos. You know more about the history of this than I do.
Oh yeah. Well, let's just say, a long time ago, Konami released this card that was made... Well, he was a manga only, actually, for a long time. Until they released him in a pack. And he was so good, Xylo, that he made Heroes top meta for a while. Okay. Like, let's say, bringing him to your hand, or starting him off in your hand, allows you to get any hero to your hand for free. And if you had a full field of heroes and you summon this guy out normally... You can wipe out your opponent's back row. Yeah.
That's pretty good for just a normal summon 4-star. With decent attack on top of it.
Oh yeah. And then not only that, mask changing him
Yeah.
right away.
Yeah, because then you can just get the effects of him and then get a powerful monster out. Especially after you clear
Yeah.
your opponent's back row, you got nothing to worry about. Do that into oh man, it's pretty good.
Oh yeah.
Now I don't
The
know if I think this is a good choice for them to bring it back now because I don't see any way that this is going to be broken immediately. It's just going to help out heroes a lot.
Oh yeah. One thing I will be concerned about though is, well, they took away something very significant for hero decks to bring him back.
Yeah, we'll get to that now. The hero lives.
Yeah.
Yeah, essentially
lives.
you pay half your life points and special summon. What's it again? What's the one now?
Brings it, if you pay half your life points, bring out any card with hero in the name.
Yeah, but what's the only one everyone always brings out?
Prisma.
Prisma? Yeah, Prisma.
Or Shadow Mist.
Sometimes Shadow Mist. But yes, so many decks just run Hero Lives and Prisma in it just to, use it to send cards to the graveyard and stuff like that. Change the name of cards.
That is going to hurt my Rainbow Neos deck.
This is going to hurt a lot of decks. Because many decks run multiple of these just to facilitate weird stuff. And I don't think this is used for any, OP broken plays, but this is very useful for making decks that weren't top of their game usable at a high level. Because then you could, facilitate some big plays quicker and keep up with other powerful decks. Do you know any, meta decks that were running a lot of Hero Lives? Because I know Prisma's popular everywhere.
Prisma's popular everywhere, so it's hard to pin down a particular one.
Yeah,
but there was
limited to one, so it's not a
there was the
pickup.
Goki heroes that were getting popular.
True, that's probably something they're trying to weaken a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm not sure if I like that, but yeah, if they needed to do it to nerf Gokis more, then maybe it wasn't the best call. I feel like this card's useful in a lot more ways than that, but it happened. It's at 1 now. And then the final card that's limited to 1 is Super Polymerization. So, I was never around when this card was out, but you have horror stories, right?
In competitive, this card was dangerous.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and just last night, me and Mario were talking about it, and you know what's gonna happen with this card? It's gonna be really good for Invoked now, isn't it?
Oh yeah, Invoked was dangerous enough by just you being scared of having a graveyard for them to abuse.
Yeah,
now you have to worry about
graveyard and use that for the fusion. But
now with Super Poly, they can now take monsters on your field as well.
Mm-hmm. All you got to do is summon an Alistair, which Invoke decks always summon Alistair. And to be honest, you don't necessarily always want to keep your Alistair on the field. Sometimes you have to use a fusion to get him off the field anyway. So doing this essentially lets you take away your opponent's monster, get you out your, if they're running a light monster mecha, but it doesn't let you choose the thing you bring out. Obviously, you kind of have to let your opponent's type cater to that, but still, at completely kaijus away their stuff, essentially.
Yeah. And then Heroes back then was the prime culprit back then because they were the only really, fusion-oriented heavy deck.
Okay. Yeah, this one is interesting. I think it's going to be interesting to see. It is only at 1, and I don't imagine it's searchable by many things.
There are a few cards like the Predapline engine.
Oh yeah,
that just has fusion in the name, so
this is definitely going into those decks. Well then again, I don't know if I've seen a lot of Predaplant invoked style decks.
No, but it might be going into those type of decks.
Yeah, I don't know. I definitely want to throw one in my invoke deck because that just sounds trolly and fun to do. So, good stuff. Moving on, we got Cosmos. They were at 1, now they're at 2. The Dark Destroyer, rather, of Cosmos. So, just trying to help them out a little bit. I don't think we need to really delve too much into that. Sounds fairly reasonable. It's not like they're heavily used right now. We see limiter removal moved from 1 to 2, which I think is okay. I do run a limiter removal in almost all of my machine decks just because it really helps facilitate the OTK, which many machine decks mess with. And, just gives you that stack of damage you can pop whenever you want. But I don't even know if I'd necessarily automatically say, oh, I gotta run 2 of these. Because that's all it does. It just doubles your damage once. So it doesn't, continuously help you. It's just one big burst of damage, which can be negated. And, it's situational. It can be a dead card if you don't have the plays. If you do 2 limiter removals, you probably wouldn't be too happy about it.
Another culprit I did find that used them more than anyone else, Dino Mist. Just their overall power, being able to just rely on this card to just, when they have their full field, limiter removal, all out attack, win.
I think I will throw a second limiter removal into my Dynamis deck, just because by themselves their power is not like super crazy powerful, but they are really consistent and that's their strength, so I think they can take the hit. While something like Ancient Gears, which aren't as consistent as like, you know, say Cyber Dragons, I don't think you're gonna throw the limiter removal in that, or the second.
Not only that,
removal.
but your core one-turn kill card, Chaos Giant, is unaffected by it.
Yeah, that one doesn't even get affected by it, so I mean, you can
just
one-turn kill with other things when you have a limiter removal, but still. There's situational times when you want to use this. I think certain machine decks will love it. Certain will be like, I'm happy with one, but that's fine. I don't think that's going to break anything. But we do have Scapegoats after, you know, however long it's been in Link format, finally being reduced to 2, which is, I mean, I'm not surprised that they did it. I'm just surprised that they're doing it now rather than before, because it's always been helpful to make Link spam. So, get tokens, make those tokens into different things.
Well, you've been noticing
monsters.
If you've been noticing, they've been trying to limit that in their own way before doing this, as that
True,
a lot of
other things.
A lot of links have been specifically saying use certain monsters except tokens to bring this card out.
Yep, but those old school ones, you can still spam out a Borreload Dragon or whatnot if you get a Scapegoat. So that's that. Putting it at 2 I don't think is going to kill any decks. Like, if your deck's relying on Scapegoats to get its plays off, it's probably not a fantastic deck to begin with. But, you know, it's reasonable. Just going to see less of that spam, I think. What is, I think, the biggest adjustment of this ban list is 2 terraformings. You are not allowed to run 3 terraforming anymore. It's now semi-limited to 2.
They're really trying to hit the field spells searching. First,
And
they
it's
take
like
away
every
Fairy
field
Tale.
spell. That's massive. Yeah. I mean, sure, you can still like substitute Metaverse and stuff like that, which in many decks isn't as good, but you can still do it. But that is just something you never thought you would see, because Terraforming just feels like such a normal core card for decks to run. That's like taking out Mystical Space Typhoon, you know? So it's weird. But I can see how it is very good card. Many, many, many decks. I think more decks than any of these other cards. There's 3 terraformings in. Just because of, you know, like a third of the decks, half the decks in Yu-Gi-Oh! Rely on their field card. So this is huge. Anyway, moving on to stuff that has just been bumped up to 3 copies. We see Apocalypse Towers, which in the last ban list was taken off the forbidden list. I think they realized that still no one's really using it, so they just decided to, you know, put it unlimited. We have.
I think someone told me it was also because they might have gotten eroded.
Oh, maybe. Which means the text was changed to maybe make them a little less broken.
I'm gonna check that right now, actually.
Alright. We also see Burial from a different dimension, moved from 2 to 3. I don't think that's going to change anything significantly. Many decks do want to return banished monsters to the graveyard. This will just make it a little easier for them. We see Ring of Destruction moved from 2 to 3. It's not heavily used by any means, but it's just going to help certain decks do that way of burn, I suppose. I guess you don't see Ring of Destruction spammed in burn decks usually. In fact, I don't usually see it in competitive play all that often anyway, but I think it'll be interesting to see if anyone does spam Ring of Destruction, because that would just sound pretty fun. And then finally, we have Disc Commander, which was completely banned, now is completely unlimited. And
because of the errata.
Oh, okay, so it was changed, the name of it. Okay. Was it not like once per duel or something before?
No, it was once per turn, I think. Or actually, I'll give you the actual thing right now.
Sure.
If this card is special summoned from the graveyard, draw 2 cards. That's it.
Just that?
Yeah.
Oh man, I can see that definitely being abused by many ways. Imagine if that was the text of it now in the Link era.
Not only that, you would definitely put this guy in your Exodia deck.
Oh yeah. Certainly. Link Karibo him off, you know, special summon him back out with many special summon means. It's great. But yeah, this makes sense. Once a duel, I think is the reason they made it completely unlimited, because it's not like you're gonna run 3 copies of this in a deck if you can only run the effect once a duel.
Yeah, and if you're running it in a pure Destiny Heroes, you can easily send it to the grave by some of the card effects, so
Yeah, so I don't think you're going to really want to run more than one of these regardless. 2 maximum, and you're only going to get the effect off once. So, yeah, if they balance the effect out, I think that's all good. And you said you had some info about the towers?
There was no errata on them. They just
Okay, yeah.
believe
I
it
figured
won't
they
be
just were
broken.
like, okay, well, yeah, no one's using them anyway, so.
It also might be
here you go.
because it is unaffected. It is able to be destroyed by links because it says
True.
rank and level, not link level.
Yeah, so like, okay, that still gets completely around them, so why not just let people have at it? So, what do you think is the first deck you're gonna have to edit up?
Definitely Sky Strikers, my main meta deck.
Yeah, I think this will legitimately kill my Exodia Sky Strikers. But I will be looking into some new Exodia patterns with these discard strength, and I guess we're obviously throwing Morphine Jar and card destruction into my danger decks just to see how that plays out. But I think this will be fun to mess around with. Good stuff.
And I'm definitely gonna see if I can make a deck around Stratos later.
Yeah, I mean, not so much make it around Stratos, but add him to elemental decks and maybe a couple other decks. I don't know. But I think that's pretty much everything we got to talk about. So let us know your opinions on this ban list in the comments down below. Do you run a deck that's going to be severely hit by this? I'm assuming many of you do, considering many of the most popular decks are being hit really badly. Yeah, goodbye to a lot of things. We'll see how this affects the gameplay, how it affects the meta, and how it affects the entire everything in the upcoming months. But hopefully you have enjoyed this video. Obviously, we're not super top tier meta professionals, but you know a couple things about Yu-Gi-Oh sometimes.
I used to do competitive quite often.
Yeah, doesn't show. Anyway, thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you next time.
I hate this guy.